Joining us now is Jacob Bernhardt, CTS, an audiovisual engineer with UC Davis AV Engineering. Jacob and his team play a crucial role in designing and upgrading classrooms across the entire campus, ensuring a seamless experience for both students and faculty. UC Davis manages 167 general assignment classrooms and numerous lecture halls, with capacities ranging from 15 to over 500 seats. With so many spaces to maintain, standardization is key to keeping things upgraded quickly and running smoothly. Let's start with our first interview with Jacob, right after these ads.
This episode brought to you by Studio Network Solutions. Media teams have enough things to worry about. Storage shouldn't be one of them. That's where Studio Network Solutions comes in. SNS makes your shared storage, media management, and cloud workflows easy, so you can focus on what you do best, creating. See how SNS can help your team at studionetworksolutions.com.
Jacob, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
I think to get things started, perhaps we should get an overview of what UC Davis's strategy for the next 5 or 7 years, what the plan is, given all the rooms there and all the things that you have to take care of at UC Davis.
Right. So usually our plans change year to year depending on budgetary restraints, especially under the current climate. But our initial goal is to kind of paint the entire campus with a cohesive technology solution so that all the rooms have the same look and feel. And if you're used to going into one room, it's very easy to transition as a professor or faculty to teach in another space. The only thing that might change is some rooms have multiple matrixed screen solutions and some are standard. We do have a couple of flex active spaces where there's like a perimeter amount of screens and students can connect independently. We have tried some different kinds of technical solutions as we evolve, but our main goal is to kind of get the entire campus cohesive.
And to set kind of the scope, we're talking over 150 rooms.
Yeah.
We're talking small room to large auditoriums, so it's not cookie cutter. There's a lot of different rooms with a lot of different variations.
Yeah, and we try to make the user experience on the interface the same, but yeah, there's a lot of different back end changes. We've got rooms that hold 20 people, and we've got rooms that hold 579. I think is our largest space. So quite a wide range in terms of sound systems and projection systems.
So when we first started talking to you and your team, Jacob, I think one of the things we concentrated on is having a long-term strategy, right? For a deployment this large with this much technology, it's not something you can do every other year, right? It's something you have to plan for. So how did you kind of tackle that from a logistical standpoint in terms of planning for a long-term strategy?
Well, I wish I had all the control in the long-term planning. Unfortunately, like I said before, some of our financial decisions are driven by higher factors. So it makes our job a little bit even more difficult because sometimes a solution that we hope to last 7 years needs to stretch a little bit further. But yeah, typically we try to source the most reliable solutions we can because not only do the rooms not get a refresh frequently, they're in constant use. Sometimes from 7 in the morning till 10 at night most of the year. So if something did fail, we don't have time to go in and fix it.
And also, as I'm sure everyone can appreciate, when you get into these rooms, you want education to take over. You don't want technology to be in the way of the actual purpose of the room. So I believe the rooms were designed in a way that professors don't really have to think about getting it to work. They walk in, plug something in, and it just works.
Yeah, and also, kind of the main concept of simple GUI design is if you have to have a cheat sheet instruction on how to operate it, then it's not as user-friendly as it could be. You should be able to go into these spaces without any training and just get your laptop up on the screen and go right into your curriculum.
What I like about that, and I'd love for you to share this with the listeners out there, is what does a kind of pre-configured setup look like at UC Davis? What was kind of standardized on for a majority of the rooms?
So a lot of this happened before I came to the university in terms of the original design intent, and that has been modified a little bit. But originally, we had a wide range of faculty that used everything from overhead acetate projectors, slide projectors, really, really old stuff. And so we tried to introduce, document cameras, and we still have one optical media player in our standard, a Blu-ray player, and then standardized on both HDMI and a legacy VGA with a whole wide variety of dongles because we are a bring your own device campus. So um, being able to come in, plug your gear in, and then quickly from the touch panel, there's just the inputs right at the bottom. You click on them. There's a preview confidence monitor, so you can view your content before throwing it onto the screen in front of people. If you happen to have a lot of desktop icons that you don't want the students to see, then throw your slides up there. But adding a Wolf Vision document camera, the 3V Neo series, has been really great because a lot of those professors that still kind of have their curriculum on classic handwriting, they can still do that. And then we also have a lot of rooms with chalkboards still. We have some legacy mathematics professors that demand chalk. They seem to think that math just doesn't go into the brain unless it's on chalk. And so we still have some chalkboards. So to get those systems into our lecture capture, we have, you can see one behind me in the corner, that white camera back there captures anything that they're going to write on the board. And that goes into our home lecture capture system.
So all of this obviously looks good on paper and it looks good as a block diagram, but what we like to hear quite often is how it actually is working after it's been deployed. So have you gotten any feedback or any examples of how this design that we help you put together has improved input from the faculty or the student experience?
Lots of feedback. And we've kind of discovered that you can't actually make everybody happy. You have some people that want one thing and others that want another. So we tried to make this this design came out of the lots of meetings with our faculty, and we have a technology kind of team that drive what types of things they want to see in the classroom, and then we come up with technological solutions to make sure that those are going to be able to happen in reality. We've gotten feedback that we tried a digital annotation system in one room and the professors didn't really like it. And we tried like different types of technology to drive that, and they still didn't quite resonate with them. There's some people that it worked with, but the digital annotation, kind of digital blackboard, wasn't working for most of the faculty that use that space. And so there's a little bit of a lessons learned, and we're still trying to try new technologies here and there. But for the most part, we have kind of our base standard, and then we can add, remove a little bit for it depending on the room.
So you mentioned document cameras, you mentioned smart boards, you mentioned some folks saying we want to stick with chalk. But what are some of the biggest technical changes that you're seeing happen right now that UC Davis is in the middle of in terms of deploying what technology and what's coming next year and the year after?
So we've started to add a lot of bring your own device video conferencing to the classrooms. So right behind the projector, behind me, you can see that black bar. That's a ceiling mic that the audience audio can get into the far end, and then they can drive the cameras. There's a front and a rear camera, and they can select between the two, and that goes directly into the instructor's laptop for Zoom or any soft codec. On top of that, we have our hard codec lecture capture system. So it gives them the ability to do both if they want to record it themselves or they want to have students drive. We have a team of students that manually operate some of the cameras. So if you have a legacy professor who's just doing, we call it chalk talk, where they just write on the board their math equations or whatever the class is, and then we can get a tight shot so that the students following along at home or reviewing the lecture afterward can see very clearly what's on the board.
That's a great point that we haven't really talked about yet, which is recording of the lecture, right? Either for viewing live or later on demand. So how was that kind of tackled by UC Davis in terms of recording it and making it available to students and faculty?
Yeah, so there's an entire team that does lecture capture. I support the hardware that then feeds them the content, and then they manage it. They have their own processes and servers. A little bit that of that technology is out of my realm, but I support all of the hardware that gets that to them. So yeah, we have uh, codecs and recorders in every room that take dual content. So the camera feed, and then whatever source, if it's the document camera directly, or if it's their laptop, and then that can go into their Kaltura server, and they can distribute it. Usually, that is not. Simulcast. That is uploaded after the class finishes. So it's pretty quickly loaded online, but is not real time.
Got it.
If the
Got it.
professor wants a real-time solution, they can use what we're now adopting in a lot of these rooms, the bring your own device, and they can host either Teams or Zoom. Looks like we have a guest.
It's quite all right.
Yeah.
It's in process, as we say. So you mentioned that there was a team dedicated to support, right? So with 167 spaces, give or take, to manage, how is your help desk helping faculty when they do walk in and maybe something isn't making complete sense? How are you tackling that when you get those requests?
So we have a help desk hotline number that connects to a kind of a triage desk, and they have a team of students that will come out. If it's something like the wireless microphone ran out of batteries, or they, didn't get the right adapter or whatever, usually the tier one students can tackle that. If it's something a little more complicated, they elevate that to tier two. And if tier two can't figure it out, it's something like seriously wrong, then they elevate it to tier three. And there's two of us on tier three. And then usually if we can't figure it out, it's because there's something broken, and we need to RMA it, or get a replacement swapped out.
Is there automation set there? So some of the technology that's been deployed that can phone home, so to speak, and say, hey, something's wrong. Do you have any automation tools put in there to alert you and the rest of the different tiers?
We're currently dabbling with looking into Crestron XIO Cloud. The way our network is currently configured, we're pretty sandboxed for security purposes. So we have internal access to our equipment, but we're trying to maintain pretty strict safety and security protocols. So none of the equipment is accessible to the outside world.
But it's accessible on the LAN. It's accessible on
Yes,
your local network. Great.
absolutely.
Okay. So when you're combining all of this different technology that has to talk together or talk to each other and be secure, how do you find how do you balance between interoperability of all these disparate parts, but also keeping ahead or at least in line with where technology is going?
So, yeah, like I said before, we do have some rooms that we implement new technologies. I think a good example of this would be our teaching and learning center uh, in campus. I think we have 23 classrooms, and we made two of them what they called flex active learning. So this was a culmination of what we had heard from our faculty that they wanted to try. And this was a hardware solution that gives a lot of student spaces the ability to share their content with the rest of the class on all of the screens. So there's
Mhm.
four main projection screens, and then there's TVs in the perimeter of the whole room. And the teacher has kind of the control of which station goes where, and they can matrix switch everything, or say, hey, student, they can look at what, student pod 2, for example, is doing, and then they can then share that content with everybody. So we've definitely tried some of these other technologies. Another one I mentioned before was our annotation displays we were currently using for that job. That was a while ago now. 98-inch planar displays driven by
Mhm.
Extron Annotator 300s. And we got, mixed reviews, whether people liked it or not. I think a lot of it comes down to some of the technology is not baked into the curriculum of how a lot of these faculty have been teaching, and some are a little more flexible to introducing new technology into their syllabus, and some are kind of they've got it in their habit of how they do it. And unfortunately, we have so many classes that our registrar ends up scheduling what class goes into what room more based on seat capacity than on the technology needed. And as we build more classrooms, we'll get a little bit more breathing room to try and get the right, the right faculty who wants to teach this type of thing in this type of room. But we're just so slammed with students. They're just struggling to make sure everyone has a seat.
If we switch gears just a little bit, because there's a question that Kiko has to tackle all the time, which is around IP-based AV solutions, right? The old world was everything's running over dedicated SDI lines or component lines or even coax at some point, but we're now turning the page and moving towards an IP-based deployment. What challenges have you encountered with IP-based AV? And I mean, does it justify the changeover for the flexibility it gives you?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the way the world is going, right? AV over IP. Our base standard is still HD-based T. We do have a couple of deployments on campus with an AV over IP solution, NVX in this case, and there's some security concerns and some protocols that don't really work well with the way that our network operations team has our campus infrastructure set up. We have deployed it. What we do is we have those systems in their own room on their
Mhm.
own copper and on their own switch, and then we're utilizing a control subnet to distance that equipment from the rest of the campus. So it works well in those spaces, and it is a cost-effective solution, especially when you start to get into rooms that have a lot of endpoint counts. It starts to really add up, because if you had to get a real giant, 32 by 32 chassis to support a really large deployment, the AV over IP starts looking a little more cost effective. But yeah, we have done that, and we've just had to separate those networks because of our network operations concerns.
Uh, Switching gears again, because there's something I wanted to bring up, I want to make sure not to forget, is that when we spoke before, one of the things that I loved is that a lot of your help desk tiers are students. They're folks that you're actively paying so they can live, but actually they're actually getting the education on working on this new gear, which also sets them up to do this when they graduate and leave.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a rotating team of students in our kind of help desk and repair team that go out and service the classrooms, and they do routine checks of classrooms, test gear, and make and elevate issues that they can't remedy themselves. And this isn't unique to our department at UC Davis. For example, our entire public transportation system in Davis is based off of buses, and the buses are driven by students. We have student employees in a lot of the shops, our MUs. We really utilize students in a lot of aspects of the university municipality, which is pretty cool.
It's really cool, and I wanted to make sure everyone listening was aware of that, and to kind of pay it forward, so to speak, and to get the students that you're educating and teaching and enriching to get them actually hands-on experience. Jacob, as we wind down, what things would you recommend to folks who are looking to update their technology at their educational facility? What things did you not know that you know now that you wish you knew back then?
Um, I think one thing that kind of helped improve our audio quality, we inherited, or at least I should say, I inherited this system when I started at UC Davis, and they had kind of done a lot of homegrown stuff, and we
Mhm.
were standardized on Symmetrix DSPs, and we made the change while I was here over to QSC, and that really was a nice improvement, because we got the intrinsic correction for all of our speakers. So we're now on mostly a QSC system in terms of amplification, processing, and speakers, and I think that there's a pretty nice improvement in quality. I wish we had done that a little bit earlier. It was a little bit tricky to make the change for us. Um, I think that, and also we migrated a little late to the game to some Shure microphones. We were using a 2.4 bass system with Audio-Technica before, and
Mhm.
2.4 gigahertz on campus is pretty crowded, as you could imagine.
Yeah.
We have you have to assume almost every student has 3 devices, a tablet, a phone, and a laptop, and we have pretty robust uh, access points to support that many devices, but it gets pretty crowded. So moving back to standard, 800 megahertz range microphones alleviated some of the dropouts and stuff we were getting, and then it also allowed us to utilize Shure Wireless Workbench to coordinate all the frequencies on campus because we do have a lot of wireless microphones.
So Jacob, it's really important to get buy-in, right, from people who are using this technology. So are there steps that you or your teams have taken to educate the faculty on the new technology and how it works?
Yeah, so whenever we finish a deployment, we do kind of a big show and tell and a teach the teacher of all of the if there are any new developments. Sometimes some of the rooms are just a standard affair because we've done the same thing, but sometimes we introduce new technology, and so we do a walkthrough with everybody, and then our repair team also has their placard that they put, and they also post QR codes on our confidence monitors that goes to their website that does have some instructionals if needed and can post special things that like this room is equipped with a different kind of microphone in the ceiling than other rooms or how to access the individual specialized parts of certain rooms.
Jacob, this has been very informative. There's been so much information. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks so much for sharing your expertise today with us and our listeners.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for calling.
Take care.
Alrighty.